So, episode 11 of Code GEASS Roze of the Recapture. Overall, it was pretty good. I did enjoy myself. Now, did I particularly have any issues with the episode? Not really. Most of it was just minor. Me going, that doesn't work too well, and that doesn't work, so on and so forth. So, um, let's start off with generally what happens. It's episode 11, but spoilers ahead. Anyway, so we find out the weird F91 references. They're called Loki. Um, or Lokis. I don't know because they were pointing at an individual one and saying Loki, so I don't know if it's Lokis for the rest of them or if they're all just one single program called Loki. To be fair, that's not really something it really matters if you get hung up on it or not, because let's face it, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so we find out what they are, and then oddly enough, we don't really see much of the outside world in this episode. So I don't think it's gonna play any part in it. Maybe the last episode we'll see like a picture of Lelouch like smiling while like looking off to the sea, looking in the same direction that Rose is, and like smiling, being like, "Oh, the world is safe," yada yada, like something like that. But apart from that, man, the all the characters that we love, because they had everyone here, right? They just like showed up, like it was just fan service. And to be fair, there's nothing wrong with fan service, right? But it's kind of like, I wish you did a little bit more. But hey, I can't do that much. Anyway, I I just I don't know. Like, there's not really much to talk about. He Ash, the best boy, engages in combat with Nolan and then proceeds to lose. And it was actually a really good fight. And he's the only one up there, and he's fighting him alone. Rose is trying to get there, but the barrier field is covering like all this massive area, and it basically shuts down anything that touches it. And one of the main plot points is that very few nightmare frames can even fly at the altitude that Nolan is at, so it makes him nearly impenetrable. Um, Goodness, I don't know how to explain this to them, but we have two characters who can fly in their nightmare frames, and they're incredibly powerful, and like could probably just like beat Nolan instantly if they tried hard enough. So yeah, man, the thing about the show is like it feels like they try to write it so Suzaku and Colin could fix this if they were there. You know, like this latest episode, they're talking about, oh, very few nightmare frames can fly at that altitude or fly in general. And I'm thinking, like, wow, if only there were two ninth generation nightmare frames that could fly, were incredibly impressive, and had spectacular pilots. And oh, wait, there are. And okay, I think I just figured out what's wrong with this. Not, not necessarily like, oh, this show is horrible or anything, but I figured out what kind of bugs me about the show and how it kind of like lost its footing. If you watch this right after, if you skip Lelouch of the Resurrection, then it makes sense because it gives us more mystery on what people can and cannot do. But in Lelouch of the Resurrection, let's go over who shows up. Lelouch, Suzaku, Colin, C2, Cornelia, the OG Black Knights, like everyone shows up. And that is because Nonali got kidnapped. And I'm not gonna lie, Nonali is very important, But you're seriously telling me that these other characters would not do the same thing for Japan? Like Japan as a whole, like Japan the country. Like it just feels so weird cuz like it hit me because at the end of the original Code Geass show, right? Or the three movies, depending on how you want to watch it, I would recommend watching the TV show over the movies and then just watching Lelouch of the Resurrection. That's the way I watched it. I think that's the best way just because the show's better than the TV shows. Like, or sorry, the show is better than the movies. That was horrible English by me. But okay, so the movie takes out a lot of detail and it's not it doesn't improve the pacing, and I would argue it just kind of lessens the experience, and since it lessens the time with the characters, we care about them less, which is also another thing I'll bring up later. But having that and then going right into Lelouch of the Resurrection, that's the optimal way to watch. So it's really a problem that this series kind of looks dumb when you compare it to the most recent Code Geass thing, which is Lelouch of the Resurrection. And I just kind of go, huh, that's not great. And I don't, it's not great. To be fair, I also do wish it was like 24 episodes like the original Code Geass, or even R2, right? R1 or R2 were both, you know, they probably weren't 24 episodes long. I might be wrong on that, but they were substantially long, right? And it gets to the point where I'm like, wow, guys, um, like so many characters just don't feel developed. Like I'm watching another mecha anime right now called Aquilian or something like that, Arquillian, and it has 26 episodes. And it uses that to its strength because they will have an entire episode just dedicated to one of the side pilots, you know? And I honestly, the 12 episodes has started screwing over a lot of anime, I feel like. Like even what is it? Witch from Mercury. It's not like you are far I would argue you're far less attached to like a- most Gundam protagonists than you are to Soletta. And keep in mind, I like Witch from Mercury. I think it's really, really, really good. And I think it's a great entry point for the Gundam series. But I just can't, in good faith, be like, oh, I'm more attached to Soletta than I am to the other characters, because that's just blatantly false. And that's sort of due to the fact that, well, it has such a shorter runtime. Its runtime is cut in half compared to what it used to be. And like 24 episodes is not a lot, especially for two seasons, because the point of the second season is to like change the dynamic of things and stuff like that, right? So it's gotten to the point where the 12 episodes has started hurting it. Like, I'm gonna be frank, Rose of the Recapture would most likely be like, okay, right now the show's sitting at a comfortable like 6.5, maybe like a 7. I think a 7 is actually pretty fair. Honestly, you could probably bump it up half a point to another point more if it was just longer. Because simply put, we need more time with these characters for them to matter and for more plot holes to be patched up, to be given more reason. Because right now, they give us such a shallow explanation of a lot of things, like the submarine I was ranting about. I've been ranting about this entire like series, and it gets to the point where just it's literally like screwed over because of the fact it doesn't have enough runtime. A character dies in this episode. He's not part of the main cast, but he is a notable figure in like comparing him to the rest of the like main cast and all these people. I swear he doesn't get like 10, I think he gets like 10 lines of dialogue. Like Compare that to, let's say, like, actually some of the four holy swords. Their deaths, I would argue, had way more impact just due to the fact that we saw them for longer. We got a better, they had like better subplots. They had dynamics with other members of their group. Like, there is just more to work with. That is the thing. This show, I simultaneously want more of it, but I also don't want to watch more of it. That's a lie, actually. I am enjoying the show. It isn't bad by any means, but it definitely is not the great return to Code Geass that I wished it was. And you can even tell it does feel a little more cliched. Like, for example, at the end of this episode, spoilers, I guess, Ash falls. Like, he gets taken out by the bad guy has a way to like shut down any nightmare frame with like this purple laser beam, and he hits Ash with it, and then he grabs Ash and throws him off, and Ash is like falling to the ground, and Rose is like, "Oh my god, where is Ash? I can't talk to him." And in my head, I'm like, "You guys are seriously trying to pull this off?" Like, Code Geass is infamous for its like smart plays and people being intelligent. And dog, you have the most cliche cliffhanger of an episode out. Because I'm not going, oh, what's gonna happen to Ash? Is he gonna die? No, he's not gonna die. The question is the chick who pilots the pink nightmare that can fly gonna save him? Or is Rose going to save him? That is the question. And the fact that they like tried to pull that off, it's it's good for what it attempted to do, but let's be frank, guys, it's not, you're not fooling anyone. And that's just this entire show. Like, it's Code Geass, but it feels more cliche, and it feels more generic, which is so weird. And I know I've been ranting about this for a while. I need to iterate this again. I don't hate the episode. I don't hate this show or anything, but this episode was just kind of a normal episode of Rose of the Recapture, which unfortunately leads it to probably a 6.5 out of 10. Anywho, I'm gonna sign out. This was an interesting video, and I did enjoy it a good amount. That's why it's a 6.5. Anyway, I will see you folks later. This is Rox signing out.